Where'll you be going?
Texas?
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Go on, make it happen.
And now here's Steve and Michelle.
Welcome to Mallet and Michelle. It's Fat Tuesday, and we're bringing the Mardi Gras magic to the hill country. Get ready for some beads, some booze, and a little bit of Bayou flair.
Ooh,
Let's go.
Damn, that was really good, Michelle.
All right, thank you so much.
When you started to say booze, I didn't think that's what you were going to say.
Well,
Beads, booze.
Booze. I was like, not boo, but booze.
Booze.
Well, I thought it was fitting because we have Bonnie Villacampa on today, and she's the founder of the Texas International Wine Competition, which isn't what you necessarily think of when you think of Mardi Gras. You think of hurricanes and whatever else you drink out of a big old glass.
I don't know much about Mardi Gras except they have that disgusting cake with the
king cake, the baby.
There's a plastic baby inside the disgusting cake. That's what I know about Mardi Gras.
Oh.
And there's beads, and you go to New Orleans. That's all I know.
Do you know that if you're not home in bed by midnight on Fat Tuesday, you'll turn back into a virgin?
Is that why everybody stays out late?
Maybe that's
What's
why.
going on with that? Let's thank our
That's why.
sponsors.
Absolutely. Let's thank our sponsors. Nomic Power Solutions.
South Star Bank.
Oh, South Star Bank is giving us a present. It's like one of these old time zipper bank bags with a
really?
lock. Yeah,
Oh.
I got one from
What are we going
Kim
to put in
Watson.
there? We have nothing valuable.
I'm going to put all my Steve Mallet secrets in there. Jovi Belterra,
Yes, got to live there. And Mallet Integrity Team.
real estate.
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
Ba-dum-bum-bum.
All right. We have a YouTube channel.
What?
Yes, and I think like 5 people have watched our videos.
Ooh,
But there is a
maybe
YouTube
6.
channel.
Maybe Sierra,
6, yeah.
Maybe Sierra will watch our
Yes,
YouTube channel.
it's been a long journey. We have it up now. It is very, it's not what you would say is super polished, but it's there. You can watch our monologues. We have our guests on there. You can listen to our podcast without any video on there too, but it's Mallet and Michelle Podcast on YouTube. So go check that out. I want to tell a quick story about, do you know what Strava is?
Isn't that like Facebook for running nerds?
Oh, that's exactly what it is. Well, it's for athletes, for people that run or swim or cycle. So there's this part of Strava where they do segments. So like a hill can be called a segment and somebody will name it, and then they keep track of how many times you've done that. And there's a thing, there's a hill in Belterra called from Trinity Drive up to the top of the hill going towards Belterra. There's a pretty good steep hill there. And that segment is called The Struggle is Real.
The struggle.
That's what that hill is called.
Oh, that's so weird. It's what I call when I pull up here. That's what my GPS says.
Struggle is real. Doesn't say work. It says the struggle is real. So part of Strava is the person that does those segments the most number of times in 90 days becomes what they call the local legend.
Oh.
So I have been the local legend on the struggle is real for a long time. So last week, I get an email from Strava and it says, boom, you are no longer the local legend on the struggle is real.
You've been knocked down.
So I was knocked off and I was like, that's not right. I'm just not going to let that stand.
Because you're not competitive.
No, not at all. So
Nope.
the next morning I got up and I went and I ran it 5 times and I got back to the office and boom, I got an email that says, you are the local legend on the struggle is real. I'm
So
like,
then
yes.
at 2:00, you got another email that
No.
said, you've been...
So this past Sunday, I get an email from Strava. It says, you are no longer the local legend. I go, this will not stand. So I got up yesterday, Monday, and I ran that hill 5 times, got my email, you are the local legend. So this guy that I'm competing with, his name is Evan Rogers. I don't know who he is. If anybody knows Evan Rogers, please have him reach out to malletmichelle@gmail.com. I don't know if this is some guy that sees that I'm knocking him off the local legend and he's like, bring it, and he's competing against me, or if he's just some guy that walks his dog up and down that hill 4 or 5 times a week.
I was just going to say, I think it's probably on his dog. It's like his dog
It could
collar.
be, because I don't know how fast he's doing. I don't know if he's running.
What would hurt your feelings or your ego more? That it was the...
Walking the dog would hurt my feelings. What I want is this is some competitive ultra marathoner guy, and he's like, I'm going to show that mallet dude. I can take that on. I think I could win this battle in the long run, but we'll see. So Evan Rogers, man, I'd love to hear from you.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny. You don't drink wine. Did you ever drink wine like when you were in Spain?
I do not like wine. I just have never liked wine.
you-
I've tried it, but I just don't.
You'd probably like sweet wine. Like if Moscato or Riesling, you probably would like.
Kool-Aid, my mind.
Yeah, if it was Kool-Aid, I bet you would.
I actually, when I have drinking wine, I have thought to myself, do people really enjoy this? The flavors it's not good to me.
Well, is it red wine that you tasted or white wine?
Or both.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, did you know that Texas is the 5th largest wine producing state? It ranks behind California, Washington, Oregon, and New York in the U.S. in production.
Really?
Isn't that crazy? I didn't even realize it. And that the Texas wine industry contributes to over $20 billion to the economy.
Damn.
So, yeah, there's something about it. I mean, it's insano and
I wonder how much of that comes from this area around here.
Driftwood and Dripping Springs are the major wine destinations.
Really?
Well, also Fredericksburg, too. But, we have like the Dukeman Family Winery, Fall Creek Vineyard, Salt Lake Cellars, the Lewis wines. I like the Lewis wines. But so here's some other little kind of weird little facts. So Texas wine dates back to the 1600s. Spanish missionaries planted the first vineyards near El Paso in the 1650s, making Texas one of the oldest wine producing regions in the United States.
I think grapes would grow in El Paso.
Well, I wouldn't think so either. But, Texas wine grows currently where cows used to roam, which maybe that's why you don't like it. I don't know.
Maybe the soil is very fertile. Who knows?
Maybe, I guess so. Some winemakers still have cattle roaming nearby, so don't be surprised if you sip a glass of wine while hearing a distant moo. Texas wine almost became illegal. During Prohibition, Texas wineries shut down and many vineyard owners burned their vines, but some families hid grapevines in their backyards and made sacramental wine, keeping Texas wine alive. And you were talking this morning, I don't think you were saying it on air, about you were running and that it was really hot and then it turned really cold.
That's crazy. Yeah, the temperature dropped 15 degrees just in like 30 seconds.
Well, even winemakers have to protect their grapes. Texas grapes can get sunburn, and they put sunscreen on a variation.
I've actually
sunscreen.
seen that. They'll put like those black, almost looks like this, like solar screens on a house.
Well, that's not what I was talking about, but maybe, yes, I think that may be from the birds, but to protect the wine, winemakers sometimes spray a natural sunscreen made of clay onto the vines to keep them from overheating.
Interesting.
But I
Wow.
think the other one, for birds, but also maybe bats. Texas vineyards rely on bats to eat pesky insects that could damage the grapes. So while you're sipping your favorite Texas red wine, think the bats for keeping the vines healthy. There is something about the soil here. The warm Texas weather is perfect for the Mediterranean style wines, making Texas wine unique compared to cooler climate regions. And we've talked about this before, where my daughter-in-law's family is all from Napa, born and raised in Napa, and they came here to Dripping Springs, and they were like, wow, this is just like Napa.
Yeah.
The climate is just like it here. So maybe there's something to be said about Napa Valley, Sonoma
Is it 100
Valley.
degrees in Napa in the
Yeah,
summer?
so
I guess it can be.
the more stressed the wine, apparently, the more that they have to search for the water, the better the wine.
That's like the banner peach season around here always comes after a really deep freeze, I guess the winter before.
Oh, I guess so. I don't know, but it's an interesting concept. I'm interested to talk to Bonnie about how our Texas wines compare to other ones. I know that Texas wines have beat French wines in blind tastings. So we shall see. At the 2014 Lion International Wine Competition in France, a Texas wine cellar won double gold, beating the top French wines in their own backyard. Oh, you know how pissed off those French
I'm
people
sure,
were.
yeah.
Woo,
They're pretty proud of their wine over there.
They were wine. But so Maybe she'll bring you a little sip and you'll find something that.
Yeah, I'll try it. I'll try it if
maybe
she
a little
does,
something.
but we'll see. You'll probably drink the whole thing. Just goop.
And it'll be
gone.
a great day today.
Hey, we're both getting a little older.
I don't know. I'm aging backwards. I don't know what
you
you're
are. You're
talking
going
about.
backwards, but I'm aging towards retirement. I don't want to retire. I want to work for as long as I possibly can, but I'm getting up there. I'm just turned 62. I have
What?
Yeah, I know. I don't even know how I get myself to work this morning.
I know.
Like all this dementia.
Hey, do you get to park up front?
Yeah, I get my own parking spot. I've got a story from Veroni by Visual Capitalist, which talks about how far you can get with $1 million for retirement. So which state you can live the longest off that $1 million retirement. And the place you can live
In the United States.
in the United States. So the place where your money goes the least further. So
California or New York?
it's actually Hawaii.
I didn't. It's kind of funny. I don't really sometimes consider Hawaii.
I know. So if you have $1 million in the bank when you retire and you're collecting Social Security,
Okay.
you will run out of money in 12 years if you live in Hawaii. If you live in California, you will run out in 16 years. If
So
you live
from retirement
from
age.
the day you retire, you're collecting Social Security, which they estimated at
what is-
$1,200 a month.
But
which-
what is the estimated date of retirement or age of retirement? Did they say?
No.
So if we're guesstimating,
It doesn't really matter. You
well,
retire.
it kind of matters, like 65, right? So if
Oh,
you've
I
got
see what
if
you're
you've got 15 years, okay, so I'm gonna be dead. I need to either
Yeah. So if you retire when
Yeah.
you're 80, but you only live 5 more years, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you live in Hawaii or California, you still have plenty of money.
True.
Well, Texas, you can live on $1 million, $1,200 a month Social Security for 47 years.
really where down in the valley.
Maybe. Well, that was the other thing I was thinking about. It's $1,200 a month Social Security. I don't know who can live off this amount. I mean, that's like,
Well,
it's like
what is living? Honestly,
yeah,
let's
okay.
just. I mean, there's different
living
standards.
in the RV park, without air conditioning.
I could
guess.
live in the RV park in California in Cardiff. That was really
Well,
cool.
yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, but some of the other places, like the longest you can live is West Virginia. Some of the other ones that are really close to the top. West Virginia is 89 years. Oklahoma 71, Arkansas 77, which may be why a lot of our friends are moving to Arkansas. Your money goes a lot further.
Do you know why in West Virginia you can live a lot longer? Because you don't have any teeth. So
You can't eat anything. Pudding is cheap.
you don't have to go to the dentist.
Yeah. I don't know who lives off this 20. It ends up being $21,000 a year. The other thing about this that doesn't factor in, if you have $1 million in the bank, even if you just have it in a money market right now, you're going to make about $40,000 a year in interest. It doesn't factor that in. So it's a very simple thing. But I think the basics is true. If you live in Hawaii, your money's going to go a lot less further than if you live in Texas.
You know, if I said this last time I was in Hawaii, what was that, 3 years ago? If I had to pick any state to be homeless in, it would be Hawaii.
Well, you won't get cold.
100%. Well,
I don't know if they allow people to
yes,
be,
because
do
we
they?
saw when we were in Honolulu, there were several homeless people, but you just walk around, all these tourists, they leave their boogie boards and their towels and stuff. And so you're pretty much set up.
You just make your little fort out of
Yeah.
boogie boards and towels.
Sleep on the white sand beach.
It doesn't rain there very often. Even in the middle of winter, it's pretty nice weather. It probably gets down in the maybe late.
People drop those little
high
umbrellas.
60s. Yeah, drop those. You can make yourself a little house out of those little paper umbrellas.
It's not bad at all. So
Yeah.
if I am retiring and I'm in Hawaii and then I don't have any money, I'll just be homeless and I'll live on a beach towel.
Yeah, there you go, and you'll be set.
And so did you know that March 2nd was Texas Independence
I
Day?
had seen that on social media.
March 2nd, 1836, the Republic of Texas. But it was also Sam Houston's birthday.
I did not
He
know
was the
that.
general that led Texas to victory in San Jacinto. But so that was 189 years ago.
That's crazy.
Texas is going to celebrate our 200 years of independence, 2036. 2036. That's
Which
crazy.
is right around the corner.
Well,
Because Y2K was 25 years ago, if
Okay,
you want to feel old.
what are we? Is that 11 years? Is that what it is?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, how old will I be in 11 years? 10.
Damn, you'll be old.
I'll be your
Michelle.
age.
Yeah. You'd be old.
I'll be your age.
Old.
Okay, so if you want to argue with a Texan, I'm just saying, if Texas Independence Day, I'm going to give you some notes. You can take some notes. Okay. So our nation, do we consider ourselves American? No, we consider ourselves Texan.
Texans.
Our race, again, Texan.
Texans.
Our ethnicity, well, what do you think it is? Now, I think it's a little bit different for me because I'm from the Valley. But
isn't it just Texans?
Tejano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, we're like Tejanos. Texas flag is the only flag that flies the same height as the U.S. flag. Myth. Did you know that? That's a myth.
Yeah, well, around here, you always see the American flags, the U.S. flag
I think every
is the
state can do
highest.
it. I think every state can do
okay.
it. But Texas likes to
But
say
most
that's
of
what
the
it is.
places where you have it, the Texas flag flies a little bit lower than the
Yeah,
U.S.
I think
flag.
it's just common courtesy.
Yeah.
Did you know that Texas, we have our own toast?
Texas toast.
Texas toast. If it can be Texas shaped, we're going to make it Texas shaped, right?
For Christmas, we got a cutting board in the shape of Texas. We hung it up on our wall. It's a great big cutting board. Hung it up on our wall.
This drives me crazy when I go to California every flipping time. It is not breakfast burritos. It's their breakfast tacos.
Oh, I know.
Okay?
Yeah, in California, they call them burritos, don't they?
Yeah.
And they're breakfast tacos.
They're breakfast tacos.
And they're not good
And
usually.
you know what else? And I've learned this. It's like chalupas to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess I grew up calling them chalupas. And, it's a flat fried tortilla with beans and, everything else on. They call them tostadas.
Tostadas, that's right.
And Taco Bell was formed in California. So that makes sense.
That all falls right in line.
Oh, wait. I can't read my own writing there. Guns? Yes.
Yes.
Guns? Yes. Do we believe in guns? Alaska doesn't count, but Texas, everything is bigger. Pride, personalities, and portion sizes. So, I mean, even though Alaska technically is bigger than us, but we don't really count them.
Yeah, Texas is the home. Was it Amarillo that has that like 96-ounce steak that if you eat the whole thing with all the sides, you get it for free? Otherwise, it's like $150.
Have you ever been there?
No. Have you been to that restaurant?
Yes, I have. Also, did you know that in your emojis that you can pull up the Texas flag?
Can you? I thought I'd looked
Don't
for
do
that.
it. It's the Chile flag.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't think it was the Texas flag. What's
It's
the
not.
difference between the Chile flag and the
Okay,
Texas
so there's
flag?
there's the Texas flag. Okay, Texas flag versus the
There you go. Versus Chilean flag.
or as Sierra says, I like to call it. Wait, what did she say?
Oh, look at that. It's just a little square.
The Chilean flag, Sierra.
It's a square up at the top left on the Chile flag, and the blue is a rectangle on the Texas flag, taking up the whole left side.
Obviously, so it's not the Texas
Well, I
flag
know.
in your
I've looked
emojis.
at it on emojis and gone, that's not the Texas
It's not
flag.
the
But I
Texas
didn't
flag.
know it was Chile.
So the biggest unwritten rule in Texas is don't mess with
Texas.
for sure. And what we consider a short drive, others don't consider a short drive. 3 hours. We're like, oh, that's just a short drive. I know this because I've been to Dallas.
Like 5 times.
Yeah,
in the
5
last
times.
month.
Yeah, for sure. This one I thought was really funny. Every Texan or someone that lives in Texas has a snake story.
That's true. Yeah, I have a snake story, but it's from Arizona. But
Yeah, well-
but you're right. Everyone has a snake
Hey,
story.
we did have a house we called the Snake House too.
We did, huh?
Texans don't believe in cold weather. And that is something, we don't. If it snows, we shut the schools down, we shut the roads down. And you know why that is? It's because the roads are built for extreme heat. They're not built for cold. Even
that
our
makes
windows and stuff like that, everything, all of our houses
Yeah.
are built for the heat. They're not built for the cold. So therefore, we don't believe in the cold weather. Hunting season is an actual holiday. Well, if you ask a lot of husbands, but it's the opening of deer season.
The equivalent of hunting season in Texas, in California, is when there's a big swell and anybody that surfs calls in sick for work. That's the equivalent in California.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know, and I didn't grab one, dang it, I meant to grab one. Do you know what is our number one medicinal drink that we have here in Texas?
Is it Dr. Pepper?
Dr. Pepper. It's the 23 flavor
God,
elixir
man, I'm doing
is
good
holy
today.
water. Yeah, I think you've been
Holy
in Texas.
water, Dr.
It is-
Pepper.
it is holy water. And all Texans pretty much agree that something pretty weird is happening in Marfa, Texas. I don't know if you've ever experienced the Marfa lights, the strange glowing orbs in West Texas desert. Some people believe they're ghosts, they're aliens, they're secret government experiments. But
Could be all of the above,
it is
Michelle.
actually a pretty cool thing to see. I don't know
Have
if
you seen them?
No, I haven't seen
Video?
them. And you can't, I've seen them on video, but you can't, they're very unpredictable. When they, as a matter of fact, someone just said they saw them a little while ago. I think it has something to do with the atmosphere, like whenever the cold fronts are coming through.
That
and
appear in the desert near
Oops, sorry.
Marfa. Oh,
Yeah,
look
see,
at that.
I mean, they've got some really cool.
Wow.
I think they're aliens. I'm still back to
We
aliens.
can always hope. Maybe they'll come save us. I have a quick story.
You have a story?
I do. I have a story. I know you keep telling me not to say that, but okay. I came across something that I wanted to talk about. There are 2 bills in the Texas Senate right now that are being discussed that would make Texas healthy again. So there's that whole
The Maha?
Yeah, make America healthy again. There's also a movement to make Texas healthy again.
I'm for that.
Yeah, what's that?
I'm for that.
Oh, I know.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I think, and these 2 bills make perfect sense to me. Senate Bill 25 proposes expanding physical education requirements for middle schoolers. So PE has pretty much disappeared from a lot of schools.
Yeah.
Our kids are heavier than they've ever been. We need to bring back PE to all schools for all grade levels.
They
I
eat
think.
junk. They eat junk, and
Yes.
I hated
Yep.
PE though.
Yep.
I
And
hate
it also mandates nutrition education for doctors. So when you go to med school, you don't just learn about what pills to prescribe. You have to learn about nutrition, which I think is a falling down in our medical system. Somebody comes in for diabetes, they go, oh, well, here you go. Here's the pill. Here's the shot. They don't think, the first thing they should think of is how can you change your diet? So
Yeah.
the doctors have to get nutrition education. And then requiring warning labels on food additives that are banned in other Western countries.
How about WIC reform for what they can
That is
get?
Senate Bill 314, it was sponsored by Lois Kolkhorst, aims to address the causes of chronic illness and increase healthier food options. Aims to limit it's SNAP, I think it is, not
Yes.
WIC. Yes. So you can't use the SNAP for like candy or sugared drinks, which is
I am just appalled of the stuff that I am that it says WIC
Yes.
WIC approved
Yeah,
or SNAP
and
approved
nobody
or
is
whatever.
proposing that we clamp down. If you want a Coke, that's fine, but I think the fact that the government is giving people money to put Cokes and things, while they are a nice treat once in a while, they're a poison for
Yeah.
your body. Especially if you're tending towards diabetes or you're a little bit overweight, that is the absolute worst thing you can do.
You
is
pour it
have-
on a battery and it'll eat the acid
yeah,
away.
yeah. So, I think that these movements they're going to be. Actually, I said the wrong one. It's Senate Bill 379, which is the supplemental nutrition assistance program thing that they're looking to redo.
Do you remember when Michelle Obama came out with her initiative and they were like she ruined school lunches forever? Like, do you remember school? I mean, so you grew up, you lived in Spain when you were in middle school,
Yeah.
junior high.
Mhm.
So do you remember school lunches? You went to an American school, right?
I did. We didn't have school lunches like they have now, though. I mean, we had a cafeteria. But it was probably about the same. We might have pizza some days and meatloaf one day.
Man, I tell you what. I grew up in my elementary school years in the Rio Grande Valley, and then on Fridays we never had, especially right now, like tomorrow's Ash Wednesday, we never could have meat on Fridays.
Oh,
it was
right.
always
So
fish.
it's fish, yeah.
Fish Fridays.
So you get fish sticks is what we got.
But I'm telling you, there was something about those cheese enchiladas that would slap down in the valley. If I could ever recreate my cafeteria cheese enchiladas, it was
That's
so good.
funny.
It was probably total fake
Yeah.
cheese, but it was so good.
Well,
So good.
Part of one of these Senate bills, I can't remember which one it is, I was looking for it, is to start limiting some of the food additives and the seed oils that go into the food in cafeterias. I think it's great that this country's waking up to some of this crap that's in our food supply, the stuff that just poisons people. We need to start paying attention.
You know, it is funny. I have said this before on the podcast. When I was on the train from Amsterdam to Paris, and I was so worried because they brought me breakfast. I was in this first class train, and it was like a croissant and cheese, and it was like dairy and all. And I was like, everything that I tried to not eat because my stomach would be wrecked. And I was like, well, this is what I'm eating today. If I die in Paris, this is what I do.
But you probably were okay because
I was totally fine.
Yeah, a lot of the breads and pastas and cheeses that are sold in Europe do not have the additives and the crap in them that is allowed in our country.
Yeah.
I just don't understand. It's a cost thing. It's cheaper to put sunflower oil in something than it is to put olive oil in it, but it's we got to be better. We got to be healthier.
We've talked about this before, and I was listening to a TikTok, and it was this doctor that I follow, and he said if there's one, he goes, I know that all these changes that are coming forward, all this Maha moment, and if there's one change that you can make right now that could make a significant difference are the seed oils. One, if you just make one change,
and
which is so confusing because I don't know what the heck is a seed oil and what is it.
It's pretty easy. It's sunflower oil,
but I would
canola oil, palm oil,
but avocado oil, right?
But avocado oil comes from the meat of the avocado, not from the seed inside. And olive oil comes from the meat of olives. The two that are okay are avocado oil and olive oil. All the other seed oils cause tremendous inflammation in your body in all kinds of different ways. So you want to avoid those.
Well, I also heard that they're bringing back, do you remember when we were kids why those McDonald's French fries were like the best freaking McDonald's French fries ever? No, it's because they made them in beef tallow. And so now some of these, in response to Bobby Kennedy, some of these fast food or traditional like quick service restaurants, they're going back to it. Smashburger, Popeyes, Steak and Shake, Buffalo Wild Wings, Outback Steakhouse, they're all going back to beef tallow.
Capitalism, because the market is reacting to, people are saying, look, we don't want to eat all this crap, and the market is reacting.
So this is an interesting, totally off, not really off the subject, but because Holly, your wife, is a vegetarian, would she eat French fries that were fried in beef tallow?
Absolutely not.
What if she didn't know? And they were delicious. And then you told her afterwards. And then
I wouldn't
you were
do that, though. If
she probably did, and she didn't know it
because she might have. We'll probably start paying attention to that. She doesn't, she won't eat vitamins that have
gelatin
in, because that's a product from animals. But I mean, she tries to avoid it. I totally respect where she's coming from.
I just bought beef tallow at Costco. They had some really good beef tallow. And when I cook, I stop using Pam in the spray stuff, and I cook
you can get Pam, or you can get HEB, it's HEB olive oil in a spray can, and all that's in it is olive oil.
Well,
There's
you know what I'm
nothing
using
else.
instead? Bacon up. And beef tallow.
Oh.
And it's delicious.
I'd like to know because bacon is usually cured with a bunch of chemicals.
I don't know, but it's delicious.
It's delicious. well, it's going to be interesting to see the Maha thing and the Make Texas Healthy Again thing. I think there's going to be some good changes coming down from our governments, both local and nationally, and that will help people be healthier. So,
We'll try.
So, all right. Well, we're going to take a little break and get Bonnie Villacampa in here and talk about wine, which I know nothing about, but I'm really going to enjoy talking to her.
Bonnie is also very health conscious.
Oh, good.
Also.
Well, you'll sit there and fall asleep, and her and I'll
No,
talk about
I
that
love Bonnie. She's a great person. So great.
All right. We'll take a little break. We'll be right back. Sit tight.
Are you tired of being left in the dark when the power goes out? Say goodbye to blackouts with Nomic Power Solutions.
As your full-service Generac dealer, they offer individually designed backup power solutions.
From start to finish, they've got you covered.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Nomic Power Solutions. Protect your home, protect your family, stay ready. Southstar Bank has remained true to its Texas roots for over 100 years. A commitment to the people and communities they serve, along with flexible financial solutions, allow their clients to shine. Mortgage loans, checking accounts, or complete business solutions. Southstar Bank is your financial partner. Southstar Bank, trusted by professionals, backed by tradition, built for Texas.
SouthstarBank.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender. NMLS 410624. Find your joy at Jovi Belterra. Life is better here. This vibrant 55 and up community is located in Dripping Springs, just right outside of Austin. 1 and 2 bedroom homes, resort style amenities, and just steps away from shops and restaurants. Forget the yard work, this is your time to relax, make new friends, and enjoy the life you've dreamed of. Find your joy at Jovi Belterra. Life is better here. Live JoviBelterra.com, 737-387-6870.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallet Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at malletintegrityteam.com. And now here's Steve and Michelle.
And we are back right here with Bonnie Villacampa, the founder of the Texas International Wine Competition. Welcome, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Welcome
nice
to the show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
We are excited to have you on. Bonnie, I ended up meeting you because you have, outside of the Texas International Wine Competition, you have a company where you have CYA'd 100% for me. She totally did during my remodel / disaster insurance crap that I went through. And Bonnie really came through with all of her vendors.
So not only are you a wine aficionado, but you handle flooring.
She does, and she got to experience a little bit of Michelle's anal retentive psychoness and colors. Psychosis, a little bit of psychosis. So thank you for answering my phone call to come on the podcast.
So Bonnie, how did you end up in the Central Texas area?
Well, when I moved back from Spain in 2011, and my son had gone to Texas State here, so I came to see him first thing. And the sun was setting, and it was about, I don't know what time it was, but it was the most beautiful sunset I ever saw in my life.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with Texas and the people, the kindness. If you had your blinker on, they would just like slow down so you could get in on the expressway and things like that.
That's true.
You
It's
came
still a little
from
like that.
You came from Florida, right?
I came from Spain.
From Spain. So you originated in Florida.
Correct.
And then
I moved to Spain in 2001. And then I moved here in 2011.
So you came from Spain to Texas.
Correct.
So were you in Zaragoza the whole time?
I was in Huesca, which is Aragon, in the province of Aragon.
I've been to it. That's very close to Zaragoza, right?
Oh, yes. That's where I went to school.
Okay, in Zaragoza. I've been to Zaragoza many times, actually. When I was a kid, my dad was stationed in Rota, Spain, which is way down south by Cadiz. And we used to ride a bus for 16 hours up to Zaragoza to go to track meets and things like that. But how did you like living in Spain?
I loved it. The people are great. The culture is great. The wine is awesome. It was nice.
Yeah.
It's a very different lifestyle than we have here.
Really?
In what way?
How so?
Well, they're not workaholics. It's mostly, back then it was mostly people for family and good times and, spending time on the weekends with your family at the little villages and their villages where they usually were born.
Do they still, well, it's of course been a long time since you've been there, but when I was there, which was a long time ago, they did siesta where like all the shops would close down like at 1 o'clock and didn't open. Yeah,
1:30 to 3:30.
Yeah, they just closed. Like
I'm gonna enact Spanish Day here at the podcast.
Well, it's pretty cool though. They'd go home and have lunch with their family and maybe take a little nap, and then they'd come back to work.
What were like? I've never been to Spain, but what necessarily were the living conditions in Spain? Was it big buildings and condos and suburban areas?
So Huesca, where I was, is the Pyrenees. So it's about.
Oh, that's a dog.
No.
They're beautiful too.
It is a dog.
Just like the Pyrenees Mountains.
Yeah.
But it was only about 40,000 people in the valley. So
very village-esque type.
Right. It was. They called it a city with 40,000 people, but then you would go out in 5 minutes, you would be way up in the mountains.
Oh yeah. The
border with France, of course.
Yeah, the Pyrenees is the tour of Spain. They go through the Pyrenees, and there's some brutal climbs, really steep roads up there.
The Tour of France, 7%.
Yeah,
they used to. There's some that are like 7%, and they used to
or more.
They used to go past our flat.
Oh, did they really? You'd see them
On the Coso,
That's amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
So is that where you got into wine?
Yes.
Okay. And then did you go to school in Spain for that?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Tell us about that. Tell us about your education there in wine.
Well, my first part of the education was back in the late 80s.
Oh.
And so it goes way back to where I started learning about the culture and the love that they have for their food and their wine and their families and everything. And so after it was, I guess, about 11 or 12 years after that when I moved there permanently that I went to Zaragoza, Spain.
Okay.
Zaragoza, Spain, and got a formal degree to go into the business. But for all those years, I would travel 2 or 3 times a year and meet people, and we did a lot of genealogy research and wine research and stuff.
Is it a lot of family wineries there in Spain? Just like generational passed down?
There are some that are left, and that's one of the reasons why I feel that the Spain wines are a lot less expensive than some of the newer wines where people have acquired the property later on, where if it's a 3rd or 4th generation winery, they don't amortize the land into the bottle of wine.
Oh.
Whereas if someone goes out and buys 100 hectares today, at today's price, their wine's going to be
has to be
double.
More expensive.
Right.
Oh, I
Well,
never thought of that.
my first introduction to wine was the great late Boone's Farm. And
Which was 99 cents
it was
at 7-Eleven.
Hey, it was better than the Mad Dog 2020 you were probably buying.
Actually, that is true. I've had my episodes with that. Maybe that's why I'm not a big wine aficionado.
Maybe that's probably why you're not supposed to drink the whole thing. But so I kind of want to know, like Steve and I are the same thing. We're not really big wine aficionados. We're not really big wine people as much. But I'm fascinated behind the fascination with wine and
fanatics almost.
Absolutely.
People really get into it.
And I was telling Steve that, back in the early days, Jesus days, that, water wasn't really safe to drink. And so people were drinking wine. Babies were drinking wine.
Yeah. Is that one of the reasons that wine started to become a thing was because it would be fermented water, I guess?
I guess.
Because it's healthier, Bonnie?
I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that when we would be in the villages, they would give for dessert, the little children would have a piece of pan de pueblo, which is, country bread, and they would pour wine on it and then sugar on top of that. And they would, kind of like we do peanut butter, I guess jelly, peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
But they didn't do the peanut butter, just the wine.
Yeah.
That's why they all had siestas, because
True. Do you know, Bonnie, are there health benefits to wine? Have you done any research on that because I know nothing about wine. So tell us all about that.
Well, yeah, I believe there are many health benefits as long as it's done in moderation.
Okay.
For example, in Spain, there's like 6 meals a day. Some of them are little snacks early in the morning and breakfast, and then lunch, and then your big meal, and then a little snack at night, and then your cena.
Your what? What is it called?
Cena. It's like their evening meal around 9:30 at night.
Oh, it's second dinner.
Well, yeah, but because they have a siesta, they stay up a lot later too. You go to dinner at like 9 o'clock, right? Which is my bedtime.
That's what we call in the States here your bowl of cereal at 9 o'clock at night. That's what it is.
That's right.
For sure.
But wine is included in all of those meals.
Oh.
Except for breakfast during the work week. But if you're in the village and with family and celebrating on the weekend, they have wine with breakfast as well.
Okay.
But not much, you see. Here, we fill the glass completely.
Oh.
There, they put 2 ounces, 2 ounces maybe, a little bit more. And so it's very small amounts of wine that they drink with each one of these meals. They might have 2 ounces, but it's not like they fill a glass up or drink a 6-ounce glass or 8-ounce glass of wine.
Is that just because they want the taste of it? It's sort of like having a chocolate after dinner kind of thing?
I think it's with dinner. I think that it's just tradition.
Huh. Interesting.
Because you don't see many intoxicated people in Spain. At least you didn't used to.
Or maybe that's just their personality now.
Well, or they have a high tolerance for it.
Okay, so in order to get a degree, and I'm going to butcher this, okay, Steve wanted me to say this, viticulture. Okay, viticulture. Oh, look at that. In ecology?
Enology.
Enology, okay, and marketing. Oh, why? I can get that one. I can get that one for sure. So, what is the process of that? How long? How many years did you go? Months did you go? And are you just like fully immersed into that kind of from the start to finish?
Yeah.
Are you learning how to grow them, and you're learning how to show them? What does that what does that look like?
So it was a agricultural university, Monasterio Colgallada in Zaragoza, Spain. And we were I actually got subsidized by
It's okay.
United Nations.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. The United Nations subsidized the education. It was a one year course, and it was 2 days a week, every other week. So it was 12 hours every 2 weeks for a year.
Okay.
And it was very interesting. We traveled to vineyards. So the viticulture, great wines have to come from great grapevines, okay? The grapevines have to be cared for and loved for all year long. It's not just plant them and let them go. So it's a baby, and they take care of it all year long. Oh. And so we learned all about viticulture locally within Spain, but then we also traveled to Bordeaux, France for a week, and we traveled to Piedmont, Italy for a week.
Oh.
To see the differences there. So it's sort of like two different industries. There's the industry of growing the grapes, and then there's the industry of making the wines. And then you studied both. Correct.
And the marketing. So some people buy their grapes from grape growers.
Okay.
Viticulturist. Some people, whenever it says estate grown and bottled, it means that winemaker is also the viticulturist, and he takes care of his babies throughout the whole year, and then also makes the wine.
Oh,
right there, usually at the winery or at where the vineyards are. That's
and
cool.
A blend is something that they've taken from all different types of grapes, right? It's the blend.
Correct.
Quite necessary.
So what makes a great wine? Why I hear this all the time. There's some really great wines, and then there's some kind of wines. What's the difference?
Yeah, like the oaky flavors or something like that.
What is the difference?
There is so much about wine. Like, people will sometimes say, "Oh, he's an expert or she's an expert." Impossible. It's an agricultural product. It is different every single year. Viticulturists are farmers. And so sometimes you have great crops and great years, and other times you don't. And it just depends on what the climate brings.
Okay.
So in Rioja, for example, which is where my wine brand that I co-founded was from, in Rioja, each year the denomination of origin, which is the regulatory council, will rate the harvest. So it's either a good harvest, a very good harvest, or an excellent harvest. When they have an excellent harvest, those grapes, since everything came out exactly how it should, they will take those wines and they will put them in barrels, and they will spend the money to age them in barrels for years. Sometimes it's could be 12 months, 24 months, 36 months. But those are the wines that you can cellar and lay down.
Oh, okay.
Most people think you can save young wine, but young wine really, after its release date, should be drank within 3 years. Otherwise, the liveliness of it starts to go downhill.
Okay.
The liveliness meaning what? What is that?
So wine is a live product.
Okay.
And if you heat wine, once wine starts to get to 75 degrees, it starts to what I call cooked. It starts to go flat. So if you can imagine a flat Coca-Cola, if you leave wine in a car or a vehicle and it's 70 degrees outside, within 1 hour, it's 100 and something degrees inside that car. Texas has these things posted in the stops, the rest stops and things.
Sure.
And so once it gets to that point, sometimes the corks will even pop out of the bottle. I had a whole truck of wine with the corks pop out of the bottles. So that's cooked wine. And then the other thing is, if you ship wine without having it temperature controlled, when it arrives to its destination, it can be cooked, which is, again, flat Coca-Cola. And so people who don't handle the wine with special care, as if it's a baby, as if it's a live product, which it is, it can get destroyed.
So do you think, like, when you're going to a grocery store and you're going to the wine section, if the grocery store isn't cooled enough, or you're seeing it all stacked in the back, that where would you necessarily...
Yeah, how would you know?
Yeah, how do you know? Like, if you're just going to the grocery store and you're wanting to pick up a bottle of wine, you're probably not recommending going to the grocery store, going right to, okay, yeah.
So, like, there's different places you can go, and a lot of times they'll have wine on pallets where you can see them, or even if they're just on the shelves. The bottle has a capsule on top, and you can, like, see a little indentation on the top.
Uh-huh.
If that bottle looks like this,
If it's got a little bit
if the cork is starting,
bubble sticking up,
if the cork is if it's crowning the cork, then it has been compromised. To what degree, you don't know until you open that bottle and taste it.
Huh.
Interesting.
There's a nugget right there.
Yeah,
I never knew that.
So I have a question. I know that there's this newer question about corking versus the screw top. And I know some of the higher end wineries are going to the screw top because they feel like they can keep the integrity of the wine. Do you have an opinion on that?
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with screw tops. Screw tops are perfect for young wine, like I was saying. If you're drinking a young wine that has no barrel aging, it should be drank within in my opinion, 3 to 5 years maximum from the release date. And so the screw tops cannot hurt anything. Approximately, I think it was 2 to 3% or 3 to 4% of all wines that have corks, they do occasionally have what's called corked wine. And so it's a natural tree. So when they make the cork, there could be a little tiny pinhole. And when it gets in there, if you ever purchase a wine at a restaurant or something, it has a little bit of a musty smell, it's corked. And it's not a good idea to drink.
Oh, really? Will it make you sick, or is it just gross?
It's just gross. Okay. I don't know if it would make you sick. It makes me sick.
Huh.
Well, okay, so for Steve, somebody that doesn't drink wine at all, you're not really
about wine.
But the history and the process of wine is really kind of fascinating, right? So if you were suggest a glass of wine to Steve for somebody who said, I don't like wine, it's because he had Mad Dog 2020. What would you suggest? I mean, are you steering somebody who says, oh, I don't really drink wine? Are you steering them towards more of a red, a white, or a sparkling?
Where do you start?
Absolutely. So the wine brand that I had three types: Young, Crianza, and Reserva. The Young had no barrel aging. Crianza 12 months, and Reserva 24 months in the barrel. Okay. So those three had totally different tastes. When we were introducing the wine to all the villages in the province, we would go and we would do blind tastings for people and let them try the young wine with no barrel aging and no complexity from the barrel. And all of the women loved it. Most of them would say, I don't drink red wine. And then I would do, okay, let's do a test. Let's just see what you like here. And 9 times out of 10, they would say, oh my gosh, that's so good. So you have to find what you like. Each individual has what they like. But for someone who isn't really into wine and hasn't learned the complexities of it, I would say a young wine with no barrel aging is what I did, and it worked very well.
A young wine, Steve. A young wine with no barrel. Well, there you go.
I get it, but I want to know, when you say complexities, what are complexities of wine?
So when the excellent years or the very good years are put in barrels, they refine in the barrel. And they have to always they have to top off the barrels because of the angels share. So the wines evaporate a little.
Okay. And
so the wineries have to constantly top them off because oxidation is not good for wine. Okay. You need to keep the air out of it if you have a half a bottle left or something.
Okay. So as those age, it adds complexity. Is that correct? Is that right? And so how does that manifest itself in the taste? What are you noticing when you drink a really good bottle of wine as far as the complexities?
Yeah,
what do you notice?
Because one of the things, like when they're judging or they're tasting, don't you see like people, they take their wine glass and this has good legs. I mean, have you ever heard?
I have seen that. I think that
and it's like, and there's the layers of the wine. Like, it's kind of like an everlasting gum stopper. Here comes the macaroni and cheese.
All right. Bonnie and I are looking at you like you're nuts.
She knows what I'm talking about, right? It's like the different layers, okay.
Okay, let me just say a little something on that. Okay, so people talk about legs and all this and lots of things. All of our judges, none of our judges are snooty. We don't have any snooty judges. We have down-to-earth judges from all over the world, great people that come and judge wines. The reason that people do the swirling, though, is not, I was talking to you before the show about 2 ounces.
Uh-huh.
Okay, only 2 ounces is what, they serve, or 3. And if you pour your glass up with more than 2 ounces, you cannot possibly swirl it and smell it because you'll spill the wine everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you really want to swirl and sniff because the complexities come in whether the wine was, let's say, 12 months or 24 months.
Does the swirl help
It helps the
smelling?
fragrance come out?
You get all the volatile attributes to the wine when you sniff it. So I should have brought wine, guys.
I know. What
We
the
thought
heck?
you were, Bonnie.
I know. What the heck? It's in her car. It's all popped right
We
now.
could have gone to Pigpen after this, half in the bag.
I could swirl my Dr. Pepper for you.
Yeah. So the tasting of wine starts with how it looks when it comes out of the bottle and the smell, and then finally the taste.
Correct. Exactly.
Look at that. I learned something
Okay,
new.
so here's another pop quiz for you. I have every time I've drank red wine, I get little hives on my chest. And so is it the sulfates? Is it the histamines? Is it the tannins? What is it? Because then when I go to somebody snooty who drinks good red wine and they're like, "Oh, this one won't cause that because you're probably drinking crappy wine." I'm like,
Yeah.
So
Are there things put in wine to preserve them that cause those kind of things?
There are legal limits to sulfites. How many sulfites you can put into the wine? So many grams per liter, or however they calculate that. But most of the times, if you're drinking wines and you're having reactions, some people always say all different stories, like it's the sulfites
or the
It's
histamines, yeah.
right. I disagree with that. I think it's the added sugar when people chaptalize the wine. So
Chaptalize?
chaptalize when they add sugar after they've made the wine
To sweeten it up to
Interesting.
if it was picked a little green, let's say, they didn't wait till the pH was at the perfect level, because that plot over by Michelle could be ready today, and that plot over by you may not be ready for a week. And if you have all the workers there and you want to pick all the grapes at one time, then sometimes you get things in wine that...
Do they have to disclose that they've added sugar?
They do not. They do not. It is against the law in Spain and Italy. I know that it's also against the law in Mendoza, Argentina. But
I think we allow a lot of stuff in the States that's not allowed in other places.
Do you know that you can get vegan wine? Did you know that?
Isn't all wine vegan?
Right. Look for vegan or unrefined. What to do if you react to wine? Look for vegan or unrefined wines.
Vegan.
Right. If you're sensitive to eggs, dairy, and fish proteins. But the reason why is because sometimes the soils, depending on how they are fertilizing.
She's got something to say about that. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Is that true? Fertilizing the soils? That they're going to have eggs and dairy and, I don't know, fish proteins?
well,
threw a curveball.
Yeah, no, there's many different reasons. But basically, if people are making wine without manipulating it, if they're making wine the way it comes with the correct pH, when they pick the grapes, and there are several people here in Texas doing that, let me tell you.
Really?
You are safe that you will not get sick. Okay? I challenge anyone to drink a bottle that is not manipulated and tell me that they got sick.
They got sick. Huh.
I just don't. I mean, not the whole bottle, of course, but it depends on how, everything is.
Steve's like,
according
I
to size.
actually do like this wine stuff.
Yeah.
This is. What's the oldest bottle of wine that you've had? Probably not as old as Steve, right?
Probably not.
Well, I had a Vega Sicilia 1981 a few years ago.
So she's 45 years old. Wow.
But I've had some that were probably 40s, 50s, 60s while in school and while traveling throughout Spain before I started the education.
So what makes a 40-year-old wine better than something that's 3 years old?
That's a good question. Yeah.
That is a good question. So 3 years old would be a young wine, of course. Right. But a 45-year-old, the amazing fact that it could still be alive, that the product is still alive after so many years refining in the bottle, providing it's kept temperature controlled. There are amazing things. That's why people do valuations of wine cellars and stuff, because depending on how the bottle was kept, if you let it get heated up for 1 hour, that's
it. It's done. So in the course of 50 years, there's so many opportunities for that bottle to get turned. Turned bad, literally, yeah.
If people move houses and they put wine into boxes in the moving truck.
We were talking about that right before we started recording, that we had somebody, we sold their house and they had this beautiful wine cellar, and they were like, well, we got to do the wine. And we're like, just throw it in boxes and put it in the back of the truck. We didn't realize that this was a thing.
We're idiots. We don't know anything about it.
That's not true. You could never, don't say that, because you could never know. When it comes to wine, you could never know everything.
I've never heard anybody say that wine is living, that it's, it has to be taken care of. You can't just put it in a bottle and throw it on a shelf and just figure it's going to be okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. What about your journey of establishing the Texas International Wine Competition? And like, why did you start this? Was this something that was not even going on here in Texas?
Well, Texas had several, or still does have several wine competitions. The Houston Rodeo and different San Antonio Rodeo. And other ones, but
the rodeo, interesting, huh? You're going to have a rodeo wine competition,
yeah. But anyway, I decided to start it because I fell in love with the wine competition in New York. It was the only wine competition that was for charity. 15 years, we sent about 5,500 kids with cancer to camp for free.
Oh, wow!
And the year I decided to start the Texas International Wine Competition, we had 3,824 entries from 26 countries in all states in the USA.
Wow.
And so when Texas won Best of Class Cabernet Sauvignon, I almost died. And I said, that's it. I'm doing this. So imagine, every country produces Cabernet Sauvignon. And we had 26 countries. And we had all the states in this United States. And there, Texas won Best of Class 2015, Los Pinos Ranch Vineyards.
Huh. So why is Texas wine? Because it seems like Texas wine has just kind of taken off in the last 10 years. Why is that?
Well, I've been very deep into it for the past 14 years now.
Okay.
And I would say it's that people are getting educated. When you start a wine business, there's actually no wine books that I'm aware of. At least when I went into started the business, there was no wine books that you could go and learn about the wine, or how to treat it, or any of this. And I think once people realize that wine is like a baby and they should treat it as such, they win more awards. They sell more wine. They get better. People should never ship wine in the summer months, or even starting now. March is too hot.
Really? So is it also...
Unless it's temperature controlled.
Unless it's temperature controlled. Now, the climate here in the Texas Hill Country, it's very conducive to really good wine. And I was talking to Steve earlier, I think it was in our monologue, we were talking about stressed wine is good wine, and why Napa and the climate from Napa, California here to Dripping Springs in the Texas Hill Country is very similar. The soil is very similar. So what exactly does that mean? Like stressed wine, the more stressed the wine, the more stressed the grape, the vine, the better.
Does that produce a better wine?
The older the vine, the better the wine.
Okay.
So as the vines age, the grapes become smaller and smaller. They produce less and less. So I was very fortunate to have gone to a vineyard that in Spain that was about 125 years old, and they were producing amazing.
And they're also
wines.
planting things next to the vineyards or next to the wine, right, or to the grapes, so that it'll pick up. Sometimes it'll pick up those particular flavors, right? I'm not sure about that answer.
Okay. I don't believe that's the case. I think, people say all kinds of things, but from what I understand, when they plant like the rose bushes and things, they will see if there's any. The rose is a more delicate agricultural product and will show faster of a potential danger coming to the crops.
Oh, okay. Kind of like a canary in a coal mine. It's like if your roses start to die, maybe you got to watch out for your vines.
Oh, that's interesting.
So you were talking about the age of vines. in Texas, we can't have any. Do we have any 100-year-old vines? They've all got to be fairly new, right? Because Texas wine is a fairly new thing.
Yes.
So, but if the older vines create a better wine, why are we in Texas making good wine if all the vines are fairly young?
Because some of the greatest winemakers and some of the greatest grape growers here in Texas, which, I mean, I can name a few. There's Dr. VJ Reddy, Newsom Vineyards, Dan Gatlin. That's the one I fell in love with when I first came here. Was someone gifted me a bottle of Dan Gatlin's wine, and then first time we met, we just understood that you can make great wine anywhere.
Yeah.
So he was making wines and comparing them to Vega Sicilia, which is a very well-known brand. Another one, a Chablis from France, and he would do his tasting, and 8 times out of 10, people would probably pick the Texas ones. That's how good they were. Huh. And it was a tasting of about $1,200 worth of wine. So these tastings, to do a complete tasting was just amazing.
The marketing, you studied the marketing of wines too. How important is it to have a good label on the bottle of wine?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah.
I think a label, there's a huge percentage of people that buy wine for the labels.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think
the way I would buy it.
Yeah. This one's pretty.
Yeah.
I think the labels and also the bottles, if you pay an extra 50 cents or 50 centimils for a bottle, you use a nicer label. If you use a cheap paper label, it will look dirty and just not nice. So I do think that good labels are important, as well as good bottles.
Do the bottle colors matter on the type of wine?
Yes. Whenever you find a white wine that's in a dark bottle, they really care about that wine. So for marketing purposes, they started using clear bottles so people could see that it had been the wine had been filtered a lot, and they could see the color. So they use, for marketing purposes, clear bottles. But the truth of the matter is, you would like to keep your young wines and white wines and rosés and everything in darker bottles to keep the sunlight out.
Okay, because that breaks down the wine too. The sunlight. It's so crazy to me how, like, you think. I've always just thought of wine like just almost like beer. You just put it on the shelf and then you drink it. But now I've got you. Not only do you have to enjoy it, but do you get to enjoy it, but you got to take care of it.
Yeah. Have you ever had this is like a wild card question though. Have you ever had a good glass of wine and you didn't know that it came from a box?
Absolutely.
Really? So
Absolutely.
There is some good boxed wine out there.
So in Spain, we would box the wines in 15 liters. So here the law was only 3 liters that you can have boxed wine. So if you're drinking young wine, there's no reason why it should not have a screw top or be bagged in a box.
Interesting.
How do you know it's young wine?
Because it has no barrel aging.
Okay.
It'll have the date on it.
Does it say that on the label? So, because I'm going into the store, where would you recommend I go? A liquor store, like Specs or something?
Yes.
Okay.
And then what region? Which region should he go to?
Simpler than that. So I'm looking for a young wine. I don't want anything too complex because I don't know what I'm doing yet. What am I looking for on the label? Does it have a date or something that I look for? What do I do?
There should be dates. Yes, there should be dates on wine on the bottles.
Okay.
And if it's a white wine or a red wine or a rosé wine that doesn't have any barrel aging, like I said, it should be 3 to 5 years after the harvest. Okay. Maximum, because it's about 6 months after the harvest that the young wines are released. So the harvest is in October of 2000, and 2001 March it gets released.
How does it say that on the label? Do I know that?
It will tell you it should. Well, I know in Spain it does. It has the harvest date. It has the date of harvest.
Does it have the harvest date and the bottling date on a good bottle of wine?
The bottling's not important because everybody kind of knows when it is, but it's the vintage, the year that the grapes were picked.
Okay. Wow, this is so crazy. I never knew this. That all this stuff was.
I didn't either. I didn't. So when you're judging a wine, walk us through that. So you have however many glasses of wine, and you're you're sampling, I guess, red, right? And so there's different criteria or benchmarks that you have to hit.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So when we do a flight of, let's say, Cabernet Sauvignon, it's very important to have certain details about the wine. And the most important is the residual sugar. How many grams of sugar per liter are in it? If it's less than 2 grams, then it has not been manipulated. If it's more than 2 grams, then it has been manipulated. And if you take a wine, and also the barrel aging is a very important factor.
So you know all of this? This is not just blind tastings,
You know this
blind
while
judging.
you're doing the judging?
This is what we as the competition have to do. And
Before you're presenting. Oh, okay.
Thank God the founder from New York and my son, they are the ones that do all of that.
Okay.
My son does it now after so many years. But it's very important because let's say you take a Cabernet Sauvignon, we get 6 to 8 glasses in front of a judge, and you taste from the left to the right, and they have to go from the 0 residual sugar and then go into the sugars, because if you taste a wine and it has 4.8 grams of sugar, Cabernet from somewhere, and then you go to a 0, you've already saturated your palate.
You won't taste
even though we drink a lot of water and we have palate cleansers, it will mess up the judging of your wine.
Is the one that's 4 point whatever and the one that's 0, is one better than the other, or they just have a different taste?
One has more sugar than the other.
I know.
Yeah, but like as far as taste,
is
flavor.
the one that has less sugar a better wine than the one that has more sugar, or is it just...
For people who are sugar intolerant, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
If I drink a sip of wine that has 5 grams of sugar, it goes immediately to my head and I get ill.
Steve would start from the right and then work his
give me
way
the high
to
sugar
left.
one. Yeah.
For sure. Why do they say that dark chocolate is always like it's one of those things that it just tastes better with wine? Do you know that? Like when they're serving like wine, it's like the dark chocolates and the hard cheeses and things.
Absolutely. There's dark chocolate and wine is definitely a thing, and it pairs very well. And of course the cheeses too. And you compare the cheeses. So after I finished the wine school, I did take a 3-month agricultural course on cheese. So that was very interesting. And the cheeses, like the Manchego cheese, is the same, where you have very little aging, and then you have 12 months and 24 months aging. And so when I would do tastings, I would put the young cheese with a young wine, the medium aged with a medium, and the super complex with a super complex. And then you get those flavors working, and it's some very interesting stuff.
It's a whole new world to me.
The palate is an amazing tool, right? I'm a big foodie. You're not as much of a foodie, because what are you having for lunch today? 2 chicken fajita tacos from Pigpen.
I'm at the point in my life where I think of food as just nutrition for my body. I don't really put much weight in how things taste.
I like food. Food is delicious.
Bonnie, on your bio, you mentioned that you don't do much social media. Do you do any social media?
I found an old Instagram account of hers. It was just one picture of Bunny. That was it.
Has that been a hindrance to you? Do you feel like you miss out on anything? You could say it.
No, I don't. And I know that social media has its place, and it's really good for some people, and that's awesome. But I learned that it wasn't a smart tool to use in 2011 when I first moved back. Not many people were walking around with 150 apps and iPhones in their hands in 2011 in Spain.
Yeah, okay.
So it was we were still on Windows 2007, I think.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea.
Yeah.
I came back as a dinosaur.
Oh, yeah. Well, social media, it has its ups and downs. There are some days I wish it never existed, but then there are some days it's actually real beneficial.
Well, it's the digital yellow pages now, basically, is what it is.
Isn't that the truth? Yeah. So when is the Texas International Wine Competition? When is the next one? When are you having the next one?
This month.
This month.
Okay.
So the 21st and 22nd. Well, we start the 20th. We have the judges' welcome reception on Thursday night, and then we have the judging is Friday and Saturday. And then on Sunday, we have the judges' wine tour, where we get a big bus and we take them to some of the best wineries in the Hill Country. And
where's the competition held?
It's being held at the Buda Welcome Center.
Oh, okay.
Downtown Buda.
Now, can the public attend this if they wanted to?
It's not open to the public.
Okay.
The judging is a very serious thing, and but volunteers, people can sign up and volunteer, and they can certainly come there. And we also have guest judges. So we invite guest judges to come and sit with the judges and see what it's all about.
I think you should have a wild card. I think you should have Steve or myself who know nothing about wine.
You definitely don't want me.
Just in there as a wild card.
I'll just videotape you tasting all the wine.
It'll be the social media hit. Well, you know what? We'll just give you some dark chocolate, and that's all.
That'll be fun.
That's all you.
How many wines are you going to judge at this next one?
We have 754 entries from 11 countries, and I'm not sure how many states, but last year it was 29 states.
Wow.
And it's a blind competition. Nobody knows. They're just doing it on the quality that they see in the wine, and that's it.
Exactly. And each wine is judged on its own merit. So in other words, if a judge has six or eight glasses in front of them, they are not comparing one to the other. Each wine is individually judged on its own merit, and that's why they have to be. The flights have to be with the residual sugars, so you can evaluate this without having an issue. The first one or the last one.
Okay. So you got 700 plus wines. How do you pare it down to a certain number, and then everybody tastes those again?
The panels are 4 judges.
Okay.
Per panel. And it's very diverse. We will have a winemaker, perhaps a marketing person, winery owner,
podcast host,
education, people who are in the wine education. A lot of those people are also judges. But what we do is Nancy Stabens, the lady who runs the judge room, and myself, we get together and we decide what judges we put together to make sure that it's very diverse. And if someone doesn't have the answer, the other person might. Okay. So if there's a question about a variety that they're not familiar with or something.
I'm reading your judging process here, and wow, the judges are encouraged to discuss each wine, but the panel does not have to come to consensus on what medal, if any, to award a wine. And the judges are given a category name, varietal, composition, vintage, and residual sugar in order to accurate. It's just like a whole, I mean, and how many judges did you say you had?
I believe we have 24.
24 judges. Wow.
How can people find out? So you said you need volunteers, and how can people find out more about the wine competition?
Well, if they just they can go to the website, txiwc.com for Texas International Wine Competition. And there's a volunteer tab at the top of the page. You can click on volunteer and just sign up.
They're looking for packing wine, pouring wine. I could do that. Assisting judges. What I wanted to touch on before we close up was you started this because you talked about the giving back aspect of it. And tell me where you guys focus your attention on giving back after. So everybody that is submitting wine, they're paying an entry fee, right? And then obviously you have operating costs and, all the other logistic stuff. But then once you have the money that you're donating, where is it going to right now here in Central Texas?
Various charities. But it's the wine that we donate. So because the competition, it really doesn't make a lot of money. Yes,
you and I had talked about that. Yeah,
right. It's a lot of work, and
so
there's a lot of expenses.
So you're donating the wine so that they can have like their competition or their
fundraisers, galas,
and stuff like that.
If it's a nonprofit, we donate to it. There's a lot of things that are not on the website. A lot of charities in Austin that this website needs to be.
So are you always looking for charities that are looking for? Because you have a lot. I mean, if you had that 800 bottles of wine, you need to.
We are definitely looking.
You're looking for
to partner with good charities.
So you give them a case of wine, they auction it off, and those funds go to their cause. That's really great.
That is great. Well, how are they going to get in touch with you if they want to be a part of this? Again, they go to the website, and then there's volunteer information.
txiwc.com.
But if you're a nonprofit and you're looking for maybe a donation of wine, same process.
My email is Bonnie, BONNIE, at txiwc.com.
I think that's great. I think that's wonderful that you do that.
Bonnie, you taught me a lot about wine. Michelle's making fun of me about the Mad Dog 2020, but that's my experience with wine. So you've taught me a lot, and I appreciate you coming in today and spending this time with us.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. And again, I have to tell you, I'm going to give a plug for her. For her other business that she has that actually probably pays her bills too. Four Floors Design. She got her interior design degree in Miami back in the day, and she's a wealth of information. I've sent her to some of our clients most recently. So
Bonnie, you have to
great.
be a saint if you've put up with Michelle.
Yes, you do. Yeah, very patient.
Yeah,
very patient.
Well, Bonnie, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Okay. And Michelle is a great client. She knows what she wants, and there's
she
nothing
does.
wrong with that.
That's great. So, all right. Thanks for coming on, Bonnie.
You're welcome. Have a great day, guys.
Find your joy at Jovi Belterra. Life is better here. This thoughtfully designed 55-plus community is paired with resort-style amenities and social activities. They offer 1- and 2-bedroom homes located in Dripping Springs, the gateway to the Hill Country. Make friends, make memories. Make time for you at Jovi Belterra. Live JoviBelterra.com, 737-387-6870.
From rodeo clowns, teachers or doctors, and everyone in between, Texans have one thing in common: hard work deserves smart banking. At Southstar Bank, whether you're buying your first home, building a dream ranch, or just managing daily finances, our 16 branches across Central Texas are here for you. Southstar Bank, trusted by professionals, backed by tradition, and built for Texas. SouthstarBank.com. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender. NMLS 410624.
Nomic Power Solutions, keeping you powered up.
Get to know your local full-service Generac dealer.
Cody and Dylan with Nomic Power Solutions are a veteran-owned, Texas-based Generac dealer and installer.
Offering low monthly payment options, it's never been easier to gain independence from the grid.
Call or text 512-387-4232 or visit nomicpower.com. Follow on Instagram at Nomic Power for updates.
Turnkey service including design, plumbing, electrical, and permits.
They even offer set-it-and-forget-it maintenance plans. Nomic Power Solutions.
Protect your home. Protect your family. Stay ready.
This show is brought to you in part by the Mallet Integrity Team, serving Dripping Springs, Austin, and the surrounding areas of Central Texas since 2004. When you need the best real estate advice and service, give them a call at 512-829-2062 or email them at malletintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.